Welcome back to the Prez podcast. I'm the Prez, as always, and my co-host today is Kian. And we've been gone for a very, very long time. It's been the off season. Well, guess what? The NFL draft happens on Thursday, at least round one does. And we figured we should do a mock draft for you. So today we're going to do a mock draft. Kian and I will go back-to-back picks every other. We did a little rock, paper, scissors before the video started. Kian won, but he gave me the first overall pick. So let's get started. As you can see, we have PFF's draft tool. We'll use that for today. And the Bears are on the clock after their trade with the Panthers last year. Bryce Young didn't pan out the way the Panthers did. One of them too, and neither did Frank Wright as he was fired. But either way, it's not about the Panthers, it's about the Bears. And they traded Justin Fields to the Steelers. So there's no debate about who they should be picking at number one, and that's Caleb Williams. So we're just going to get started with Caleb Williams to start the draft. And at first, I'm going to take Caleb Williams. There he is. Next up on the clock, we have the Washington Commanders. Kian, who are you taking?
Now, with the Commanders, they traded Sam Howell, and this just has to be a quarterback here. It is the biggest need at the most valuable position. So, right now, I do think that Jayden Daniels is the best quarterback right now, and I think this could be Drake May. This could be J.J. McCarthy, but Jayden Daniels, he just has incredible accuracy, and he's got the dual threat ability, and I just think he's the best quarterback for the Commanders to take.
Alrighty. Jayden Daniels, drafted to the Commanders. Alright, that puts me in the first, what I think is going to be the hotly contested trade spots. I think with a new head coach and all the needs the Patriots have, that they should really trade up. I think there's a lot of teams that really want to trade up, Vikings being one of them, maybe the Broncos, even though they traded for Zach Wilson. There's teams that want to move up, even the Raiders, who tried to move up to number 2, the Commanders said no. May want to move up to number 3. So there's a lot of teams that are hungry for quarterbacks at this position. If you can get some picks and rebuild your entire roster, which the Patriots need to do, I would trade out. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think they're going to stay put, and they're going to stay put for a quarterback. I do think Minnesota would offer them a lot to take Drake May, but I think that this new regime wants a quarterback, and they want one now. They want to move past Mac Jones. And I think they're going to take Drake May at number 3. That puts you at number 4, Keen, with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I really think number 2 is really the first spot that something different could happen, but at 3 is really where we're going to see either potentially a really big trade or just sticking and picking and taking the best player available. And the Cardinals, they also have an option to trade down and potentially get 3 first-round picks in this draft. And there would still be great players available. But I don't know if you want to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Nabers, both elite wide receiver prospects. And with J.J. McCarthy available, do they want to trade down is a question. But I am going to have them stay here and take Marvin Harrison Jr. I just really think they need a receiver, and I think taking the best player, possibly the best player in this draft, would be a very wise decision.
All right. Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr. Next up, we got the Fighting Jim Harbaugh, otherwise known as the Los Angeles Chargers, again, in a spot where they could trade down. Have Justin Herbert. Have a lot of good pieces. They could use some draft capital. Obviously, they get rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. But this team is going to run the football. They're going to be a running team. So do they take a receiver to replace the receivers that they lost? Do they trade out? No, I think they get big and mean up front, and they add another offensive lineman, arguably the best tackle in the draft, even though it's a heavy tackle draft. I think the Chargers stay put, and they take Joe Alt and just get big and mean so they can run the football and play Jim Harbaugh type of football. So at 5, I got the Chargers taking Joe Alt.
Yeah, definitely really interesting pick there again because the Chargers really do have three options there. I think trading down to potentially get a receiver and then also a tackle or Brock Bowers, and then just taking a tackle or receiver right there. But this is definitely a great pick for them. Joel is an amazing player. So with the Giants at 6, J.J. McCarthy is still available, and they don't really have much of a plan for the future after Daniel Jones leaves. But I do think that you are going to want to build a team while you still have Daniel Jones on the roster so that you can have a good team while that new quarterback comes in. So I do think they should take a receiver here as they don't have really a great wide receiver one. And I am going to go with Rome Odunze here because I feel like Malik Neighbors is he's very explosive, but Rome Odunze is just the type of build that they don't really have yet on the Giants receiver room. So Rome Odunze, a big physical jump ball receiver, that's who they're going to take.
All right. Rome to the Giants. As you can see, they have tons of needs there. The Giants, they may be a candidate to trade back as well if they get a really good deal. All right. Next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans, new head coach, new GM. Not new GM, I'm sorry, same GM. But new quarterback, Will Levis. When Will Levis did play last year, he did look good, looked strong in the pocket, willing to stand tall. The problem for him, he was standing tall behind paper-thin blockers, needs help. They're going to be really mad that Joe Alt's gone, but they're still going to take the best tackle available. And that they need a true left tackle. So I could go Fuaga, but I think he's an amazing prospect, not necessarily the best tackle. I don't think that Faunanu is really best. I think they're going to take Olumuyawa. Is that how you say it? Pronounce it for me, Kian.
Olufashanu.
Olufashanu. They're taking the Thank you.
Olufashanu.
I'm going to butcher it, so I'm going to let Kian say it. They're going to take the tackle out of Penn State to anchor their left side.
Yeah, I really think that is a good pick for them. Olufashanu has been not getting up there in the tackles recently, but left tackle is usually drafted higher than right tackle, and he has been playing great. Now, with the Atlanta Falcons, it seems like the pick here could be edge rusher, and there are really great edge rushers. The top edge rushers still available, but I really think that the Falcons, they're in a good situation here, and I think with multiple great edge rushers on the board, I'm going to have them trade down to 11 with the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. All right. So we're taking Minnesota.
Yeah.
What are they? So Minnesota's giving up.
Yes.
11.
The Falcons will give up 8. I don't know if they would be willing to give up 23, but if they would, I think the Falcons would have to give up something in return. But I think that is what the Falcons would want to do. So the Falcons can throw in maybe a late round pick in 2025, like a 4th. I think that would be a good deal. So if you force the trade.
All right.
I don't know if that's gonna be exactly the trade compensation, but
unfortunately,
that's what would happen.
Can't do draft trades.
Well. Okay, so.
It's locked, unfortunately. So what would they do if they couldn't trade out?
Okay, so the Falcons, I think if they would trade down, they would draft an edge rusher at 11, best available, and then maybe a cornerback at 23. But since we don't have trades, which is definitely a possibility, as seeing how the board would fall, the Vikings maybe don't have to trade up, and the Falcons can just take the best edge rusher. And they're all great edge rushers, but I do think Dallas Turner would be the best fit for the scheme. Just really good athlete, and he did play in the 3-4, and he fits their scheme. So the best edge rusher, that's who the Falcons will take.
Dallas Turner to the Falcons. All right, now the Bears are back on the clock, and they're going to see Malik Neighbors hasn't been picked. They may be thinking about getting a great quarterback receiver combo. They did trade for Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen operates mainly out of the slot, so having another outside receiver to tag team with DJ Moore gives them a lot of flexibility offensively. I don't know how they don't take Malik Neighbors here. Their offensive line was improving. I'm sure Matt Eberflus would love to get a defensive player here to pair with their other defensive lineman, maybe another pass rusher. I just don't know how they pass up Neighbors if he falls at 9. I think they draft Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, another option for the Falcons could have been Malik Neighbors, but I just feel like you did the line free agency and you don't really need to take that in the first round. So with the Jets on the clock, they have had O-line be a big need for them, but they did sign Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. They are both in their 30s, so they're really just band-aids right now. But I don't really know if you need to draft a replacement in the first round. So I'm going to get another weapon for Aaron Rodgers and give them what's been a popular pick, Brock Bowers, as they don't really have an amazing tight end, and
they do not.
He's just an amazing prospect, one of the better tight end prospects, just really good playmaker. So that's who the Jets will take.
All right, and now here we are with the Vikings. The Vikings wanted to trade up to 8, like you said, and I do think the Vikings will be trying to trade up on draft day. But in this scenario, it actually kind of works out for them. Only 3 quarterbacks were taken. No one else was able to trade up and jump them. And here they are sitting, and they're just going to have J.J. McCarthy sitting there looking them in the face. Now, they could surprise us. Maybe go with Bo Nix. Maybe go with Michael Penix Jr. I don't think so. I think that they're going to look at J.J. McCarthy and take him at number 11. I'm not a huge fan of J.J. I don't think he was tested. He never had to lead the team in passing. But I think that's why the Vikings are trying to trade up and maybe for a better prospect. But you can't be mad at taking the 4th quarterback available. And the Vikings take J.J. Next up, Broncos.
Yeah, great situation for the Vikings, being able to keep a first round pick. And the Broncos are interesting because it's been a quarterback pick recently. And it still could be that, but I feel like with Zach Wilson and Jared Stidham, I don't really know if...
Don't forget about Ben DiNucci.
Okay. I don't really know if they want to draft a quarterback to be the 4th on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is another situation for the Broncos. And I think they will try to get a good player on defense. And they could take an edge rusher, but I'm going to go with D lineman Byron Murphy II.
Okay.
Out of Texas. Just most well-rounded defensive lineman prospect, really good in the run game and pass game.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit undersized, but I think he could really be great on their defense.
Right.
So I think that's who the Broncos certainly have a possibility of taking with 12th.
All right. The Las Vegas Raiders at 13. Now, as I previously said, they tried to trade up for the number 2. They really want Jaden Daniels. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. There's 2 quarterbacks available that happen to fall them at 13, Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And you're thinking, well, they probably have other holes to fill, and they do, but they have a lot of veterans on that team. Remember, Devontae Adams doesn't go anywhere. Max Crosby doesn't go anywhere. They have guys in that locker room that want to win. Antonio Pierce wants to win, and I really don't know if they believe Aiden O'Connell is the answer. So I feel like quarterback is what they're going to do, and the Raiders aren't afraid to make big swings. They're not afraid to take chances, and I really see that they are going to take chance, and they're going to take Michael Penix Jr. at 13. Big reach, maybe, but if he works out, it's not. If he fits, he's able to throw the ball to Devontae Adams on a rope like he did in college, it won't be bad. Next up, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the Saints, I feel like this should be a tackle. Ryan Ramczyk and Trevor Penning haven't been doing so great, so I think the best thing to draft right here is an offensive tackle. So they're really I guess you could say four options, but Talisa Fuanga and Troy Fautanu are probably going to move inside. So I'm going to go with J.C. Latham from Alabama, and he's just really great right tackle. Amarius Mims is more of an athletic player, but I think J.C. Latham just has been really great, and I think that is a great pick for the Saints.
Alrighty. Next up, the Colts. Now, the Colts have some interesting needs. They probably could use another playmaker for Anthony Richardson, and they may be able to there's a lot of receivers in this draft. They don't have to reach for it. But on defense, they could use some more help in the backfield. I think the best corner prospect is just straight corner is Quinyon Mitchell. And I feel like he's going to add some physicality on the edge and stuff like that outside at corner, which they need. And I think they'll pick up a receiver later in the draft to help with the explosiveness to give Anthony Richardson more options. So I think the pick here for the Colts at 15 is Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, and the Seahawks here, I feel like you just have to draft a left guard. That's their biggest need. So I'm going to take, I think, between Troy Fautanu and Talisa Fuanga. Fuanga was a much better tackle, but Fautanu did go to Washington to be able to stay in Seattle. But with Fuanga standing on the board, I think he was a great tackle, but I think he could be just a really amazing guard. So the Seahawks getting to take their left guard of the future.
I think that's a great pick, and I highly doubt the Seahawks will be there at 16. I feel like they're only having 2 picks in the top 100 and needing some help and some depth on both O-line and D-line. I feel like they're going to try to trade out at least a little ways, and that's just John Snyder's MO. He's traded back multiple drafts in his long tenure as the Seahawks GM, and I think he'll be looking to do it. And this draft is pretty deep, especially the first 3 rounds. So there's a lot of room to move, and there's going to be a lot of teams I think that will be on the move. So, all right, next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Had a disappointing season last year. They lost Calvin Ridley. They are trying to figure out what they're doing on defense. They brought Josh Allen back. I think their pass rush is better. But wouldn't it be awesome to add some interior help on that D-line to add to their pass rushers? I think Jahar Newton, he was a big prospect talked about when the draft first, we started moving down to the Super Bowl, and he's kind of fallen down the board lately. I've watched some of his tape. I think he's really explosive. You can line him up in different positions, and he especially can be helpful as a pass rusher on the interior on third downs because you can line him up anywhere. So I'm going to take Jahar Newton for the Jaguars. They need a pass rush. They need to get after C.J. Stroud in that division. So why not add another pass rushing threat and someone that can just help that front 4 on defense?
Yeah, really great. I mean, they'll be able to team him up with Eric Armstead, and I think that'll be a good pass rush with Josh Allen getting re-signed and Trayvon Walker. So that'll be great for the Jaguars. So with the Cincinnati Bengals, I feel like the pick, it should be a tackle here.
Mm-hmm.
The only other option would probably be Brock Bowers, but he got picked at 10. So I think the Cincinnati Bengals will take Amarius Mims, the right tackle from Georgia. He's just really athletic, and I just think that will be a great pick for them, a right tackle for the future. And he's a great player, so I think that's who the Bengals should take here.
All right, next up, we have the Rams, who haven't had a first-round pick since 2016 when they drafted Jared Goff. And here they are. Sean McVay really hasn't ever had a first-round pick. Remember that first-round pick, Jared Goff, was taken when Mr. Fisher was the head coach. So now is Sean McVay going to look at it and see, you know what, Aaron Donald retired. Our defense was kind of the reason we weren't so good last year anyways because Donald was hurt. And we have a lot of holes. We got to fill this Aaron Donald-sized hole in our defense. Or it's my first time drafting the first round in an offensive first-round class. There's a lot of toys out there I could add to my fantastic offense. But I did turn Puka Nakua into star. I could get some other guys deep in the draft. What should I do? Well, what you should do is really draft a defensive player.
Yeah.
And I think Sean McVay is smart enough to realize that. They really, really struggled at the outside corner position. It was probably their weakest part. And here's Cooper DeJean just sitting there. You can put him anywhere. He doesn't have to necessarily play outside corner, but he's a flexible player. Nothing more important in today's NFL than the middle of the field, and he can guard the slot. So I think the Rams take Cooper DeJean at number 19.
Yeah, definitely. They've got a lot of options as they do have a lot of holes on their defense. They could go somewhere in the front seven, or they could take it at corner. So I think that is a really great pick for them. And with the Steelers, they do have holes on their offensive line, and I really think that the best tackles aren't really available here. So unless you want to take Tyler Guyton, so I am going to take the center from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson, and as they really have a hole at center, and Jackson Powers Johnson is just really an incredible prospect, and I think he'll be able to improve their run game and pass game, and I think that would just be really great for the Steelers.
All right, next up, the Dolphins on the clock. Now, the Dolphins are really upset that J.R. Newton was gone, right? They really want to replace Christian Wilkins, and they really need some help. But they need help on the O-line and the D-line. They really need help in both areas. Their passing game, while it's quick and they're able to get stuff out, I really see them needing help everywhere on that offensive line. And that's the great thing about Mr. Troy Fautanu. He can play multiple positions. He's super flexible. I could see him even playing center someday. He's really, really smart offensive lineman where you can move him to left guard or right guard. And they really need help. They need more time for Tua. So my pick for the Dolphins is Troy Fautanu.
Yeah, that's a great pick. He does have flexibility across that offensive line, and he falls to them. So, yeah, great pick for the Dolphins. With the Eagles, they do have multiple positions that they can take, but I think what most people have been taking is cornerback. And with potentially the best corner in the draft, it's been really close between him, Quinion, and Cooper DeJean. But I am going to take Terrion Arnold as Darius Slay and James Bradbury. I really think you need to get another guy in there that can be your future CB1, and he's just a really great player, just great in coverage and really aggressive. So I think that's a great pick.
All right, here we go. The all-in Dallas Cowboys. A sad joke.
That's the Vikings.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Vikings are next. Oh, you get the Cowboys.
Okay, Cowboys.
There you go. That makes it easier. Let's go back. I'm misreading my things. All right, so awesome. Vikings at 23. They were able to keep both their picks. They got a quarterback, and look who's sitting there. The top two guys on the board are both pass rushers. Perfect. You lose Danielle Hunter. You need pass rushing help. Two guys left on the board. Now, I do like Latu better than Jared Verse, but he does have a history of injuries. I think he's more explosive. Jared Verse is more your traditional pass rusher, while Latu is more explosive. So it's a matter of upside versus risk reward. I think the Vikings are a little bit more risky, and so I think they're going to take Latu at number 23.
Yeah, with Gunnar and Van Ginkel, I think getting another pass rusher in there, as they don't really have a third guy, and you can never really have enough great edge rushers. So
No.
I think that's a great pick for the Vikings to get another player there on the defense. Now with the Cowboys, they do have a lot of needs, and for them, I think the best option is to get a versatile offensive lineman like Graham Barton. And I think if they move Tyler Smith out to tackle with the loss of Tyron Smith, I think Graham Barton could play guard, as he has played tackle and center at Duke. And I think potentially if Tyler Smith doesn't work as well at tackle. Then you can move him back inside to guard and have test Graham Barton out at tackle. So I think this is just a great pick as they have multiple holes on their offensive line that Graham Barton could fill. So that is who the Cowboys take.
Okay. Next up, the team that beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, lose Mr. Bulaga. And their offensive line played pretty well, but it'd be nice to secure some more offensive line help. I really feel like they've got their weapons in order. Signing Josh Jacobs, obviously a bevy of young receivers. Defense, it could use a little help. They obviously are young there as well. But I think maybe securing that line, you're going to spend a lot of money on Jordan Love. Let's give him some more offensive line help. And we're going to go with the tackle out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan, for the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, yeah, Jordan Morgan, good tackle. He could move inside to guard, which is something that has been talked about a lot. And they do need more offensive line help with David Bakhtiari leaving. So
Bakhtiari, not Bulaga. What was I saying? Should have corrected me.
I didn't hear you, honestly.
Bulaga's been gone for a long time. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think the Buccaneers, one of their biggest needs is edge rusher, and with Jared Verse, a really great edge rusher, still on the board, I think that is who they should take.
Gets to stay in Florida.
He does get to stay in Florida. He's just really great speed and power. I think he will be able to get to that the quarterback, and I think that will be a great addition to their defense.
Alrighty, next up, Arizona. They took Mr. Harrison Jr., number 4. Now it's Mr. Jonathan Gainon's turn. Maybe get some more defensive pieces. They need help everywhere on defense. One of the worst defenses in the league. So right now I feel like it's just take the best defensive player available. As you can see at the top of the board here, a lot of corners available. I know Nate Wiggins showed a lot of speed and stuff like that, but I really want to take Kool-Aid McKinstry. I feel like being in a very, very pro-style defense in college at Alabama will help him excel in the pros. A lot of good coaching, a lot of good defensive coaching in Alabama. So Kool-Aid is going to help Kyler and the Arizona Cardinals in the desert.
Yeah, and I think this could be something that actually could happen in real life with Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I think Nate Wiggins, he does have some concerns. He's a bit undersized, and he's not that great in the run game. And I think this is actually realistic, and it could be one reach that we could see. So now with the Bills on the clock, I think their biggest need is receiver, and with 2 great receivers on the board, it's really just you want Adonai Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr. As they're both great deep threats. So I am going to go with Brian Thomas Jr.
I think that's the right pick.
He's just great deep threat, and he's explosive, and I think he would fit really well into this offense. So I think Bills get another receiver for Josh Allen.
All right, next up, the Detroit Lions. And if you can guess what the Lions are going to do with the 29th pick, you get a gold star. They've been known to do some interesting things. Maybe they'll trade up, maybe they'll trade out. They've done really good building a really strong roster, but they do need help at corner. And Nate Wiggins is sitting here right in their lap. I think they're going to draft Nate Wiggins. They do need help at corner. It's an easy pick for them. Helps them on the defensive side of the ball. Their offense is going to be great again, but they do need help on defense. Either a pass rusher or in a corner. I think they go corner here. Nate Wiggins to the Lions at 29.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick for them. He fits the Lions mold in what they want. He's just really aggressive, and he's really great cornerback. So I think that's a great pick for the Lions, as they really do need help in their secondary. So with the Ravens on the clock, I think the best position here is offensive tackle. So I'm going to take Tyler Guyton, the right tackle from Oklahoma, to be their right tackle. As they don't have Morgan Moses anymore, I think he can just be a plug and play star there, and I think that would be just a great pick as they do need some more O-line help.
Okay. I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to complain about that or that Ravens run game.
No.
All right. Next up, the 49ers. 49ers, their offense is really key on timing. It's all about getting the ball out on time and everything. And the problem they have right now is that Brandon Ayuk doesn't want to play for them anymore because they're not going to pay him. They can't pay for everybody. So whether the trade happens now or they lose him in free agency, to be determined, his asking price is a lot, they're going to have to replace him. It's a great receiver board here. We still have Adonai Mitchell, Troy Franklin. There's other receivers like Keon Coleman. Jalen Polk maybe jump up there. Xavier Legette. Depends on what they're going. Now, they have a certain type of receiver. They like receivers that are great after the catch. They have a certain style. So I think they will find a guy that fits their needs. And I feel like it's a physical type of receiver with speed. So I think I'm going to give them Keon Coleman, a guy that didn't run a great catch, but great after the catch, really physical type of runner, and fits the San Francisco receiver type of style. And they do find a way to trade Brandon Ayuk. So at 31, it's Keon Coleman.
Yeah, just really great jump ball receiver, and I think that is something that they could use. Just a player that Brock Purdy can just throw to and will hopefully come down with the ball. So now with the Chiefs, they have some great wide receiver options, as I do think that is the pick. Getting Mahomes is a great wide receiver, and I think the pick here would be Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. Just a great route runner, great deep threat. I think the other option would be Ladd McConkey, but I think Adonai Mitchell is a better prospect. So the Chiefs get Adonai Mitchell, and that will finish the draft.
Awesome. That was very fun. Sorry we couldn't do any trades. My mistake on that. But either way, we had a great time doing the draft. Very fun. We'll see how close we are on Thursday to some of these picks. I do feel like there will be a lot of trades. There usually are. And especially some quarterbacks going too high. Really interesting that we'll see some quarterbacks, which means some of these receivers may fall. It'll be interesting to see. Everybody's talking about these receivers, but it's a very deep receiver draft, very deep tackle draft. So we're going to see a lot of those guys go first, and not a lot of defenders in this draft. It'd be interesting to see. The record for offensive players in a row at the top of a draft is 8 places. Will we get a defender in the top 8? Do you think so, Kian?
I think it really depends on if the Falcons potentially draft receiver, but I think they do go edge.
Yes, I think they should go defense. I think they're the key. Do they trade out? Like you said, there's a possible scenario where the Vikings traded them just to get up and get a quarterback. But who knows? That's only if another team is threatening a trade. So, anyways, happy to be back doing another video. Maybe we'll do a post-draft grading. It would be kind of fun if we did that. Give you our review of the trades and the grades for all the teams. We could also do some New Jersey discussions. Do you like the Houston Texans? Yes. Do you hate the Broncos? Yes, yes I do. But they are still an improvement over the old Broncos jersey. Should just go back to the Orange Crush uniforms.
They do still have them as throwbacks, but
they do.
Personally, I am a fan of the new jerseys.
Yes. See, we could have a debate about it. All right, that's another video for another time. Have a great evening. Enjoy the draft, and hopefully your team drafts well.